Yo, what's up guys, welcome to my channel. If you're here to actually find out how to defeat Molten Tigrex, this video is just for you. Today I'll go through the kind of monster you need, the equipment to bring along, and how to go through it round by round to defeat the Molten Tigrex easily, so you minimize your hard loss and getting cutted out of the fight. Alright, so without further ado, I just want to make this a short video, so let's go through this quickly. So what does going solo means? Going solo means that instead of actually getting someone online as a random to join you in your expeditions, we are actually going to use the AI instead to help us in our expedition. So with the new Monster Hunter Stories update, we are actually going to bring our better buddy instead. Previously it was a random AI generator for you, but now we get to bring our AI buddy instead. So I'll go through some of the AI better buddies that are available and how each of them can help you in terms of this fight. So first off, we're going to look at the riders option that are available for us. So on paper, Kel looks like he is the best option to bring along, because his equipment is actually the Water Elemental Mizuzune bow, which actually Molten Tigrex is weakness to. But what I don't like is the equipment is actually a bow, so he actually spent at least half of his time trying to charge his bow, and this actually doesn't provide much of an advantage over Molten Tigrex because we lose a lot of hit-to-hit chances when he charges his bow, and he might even put his life at risk when Molten Tigrex is trying to attack him and he is trying to charge his bow. So another thing to take note is that when you bring a rider, there's only a total of 3 party members that are attacking Molten Tigrex. So when he goes to a triple attack mode and he uses the Wild Spear, which is a very high damage single target move, if all 3 of them procs onto you and your Monstie, you'll lose all 3 of your hearts in one turn. Please hit. Oh no! If he hit me another 2 times, I'm gone. Oh my god! The last one will determine whether we can do this. Oh, he hit help! Okay, we survived! We survived, guys! Based on RNG. The more party members you have in a fight against Molten Tigrex, the lesser of a chance that you actually get triple attack in a turn and it ends your expedition with Molten Tigrex. So that's why I will not suggest you to bring a rider instead and to bring a hunter. So even Riverto, who is everyone's favorite in terms of the better buddy, in terms of his high damage output, he is also a rider, and like I mentioned, it won't be a useful fight for you because you just increase the chance of you getting triple hit in the turn. So we try to spread out that chances by having more party members, which is why we need to bring a hunter instead of a rider. The first hunter we actually have is Kena, which I won't even consider bringing with us because firstly, he has a Velocidrome. So unless you want to fight Molten Tigrex in Hell mode, I suggest do not even consider bringing her along. And on top of that, Velocidrome I think has the worst stats out of all the possible hunters and their Monstie that you can bring along. So likewise for even Elwyn and his Ligiana or Arvinia with his Barioth, I won't even suggest them at all because they don't have the best stats in the game to actually fight Molten Tigrex. So that leaves us with only one possible option left, which is Chevelle. So I'm going to explain why Chevelle is the best option that you can bring along. So firstly, he has Rati, which is a Ratian. And the Ratian has the best Monstie stats that you can bring along as an AI better buddy. I think he is the only one with the HP over 500 based on my level currently, and at the same time he has chance to inflict poison and as well as burn, which is what Molten Tigrex is susceptible to. So that's why I would rather bring Rati along. So even though his damage output sometimes might be fire, which Molten Tigrex has a strong resistance to, but overall the poison, the burn, and their damage output of Chevelle and Rati far outweighs any other AI better buddy hunters that you can bring along. Like I mentioned, because of hunter you got 4 party members, you reduce your chance of being triple shotted by Molten Tigrex. So in terms of monster to fight against Molten Tigrex, you will want a water elemental monster because his weakness is actually water. So you guys can see from here, he's actually very weak to water. So currently the best water elemental monster in the game is actually Socium Mizuzune. So firstly we have Aqua Blaster, which is a technical move. So this move will be useful when Molten Tigrex is in a rage mode, because that's when he will use speed attack most of the time, and this will give us advantage in a hit-to-hit matchup. Okay, and it's a pretty strong single target heavy water damage as well. Next we have this Evasion Gene. So Evasion Gene is to help us to evade some of the very powerful attacks like maybe the Wild Spear or even attacks like the Savage Roar. They all can be avoided, even the Fang combo. So this gives us a bit of a chance. Honestly though, it doesn't proc as much as I thought it can, but it can help us to get out of certain dire situation. So it's an ability that I find it's still good to have in the Soul. And then you have Noxious Speed, which is a power move. So this move have a high chance to inflict noxious poison, which give you more damage over time to Molten Tigrex to help your fight more easily. So power moves like this are very useful in situation where he goes technical attack, and this usually happens when he is in rage mode, when he has a very low health, and he will attack 3 times in a turn. So this power move will help in terms of your head-to-head matchup. And then we have Merciless Genes, which is the all out. So you spend more kinship charge to unleash your skills at full power. This will increase our damage to Molten Tigrex. Because its health pool is a bit high as well, so we want to do as much damage as we can. The Rainbow Gene to provide the synergy and the bingo bonus. You have a Pump Up Gene, which is the best move to actually power up your Monstie. This I think increase your attacks by 70%, but of course it comes at the rate that you will lower your defense. As I said, we want to do as much damage as possible so that we can bring down Molten Tigrex as fast as possible. So the 70% increase is actually quite a lot. For Water Plus Gene, which is a must-have if you want to boost your water elemental damage. You have a Bewitching Bubble. So the speed move that I use is actually an AoE attack over here, but what I like about this is that it actually reduces the speed and accuracy of the Molten Tigrex. So reducing the accuracy is very important because Wild Spear, I don't think it's a move that is a very high accuracy, so you might be able to avoid it if you manage to proc the accuracy down. And even for Savage Roar, you can also evade it if the accuracy is down as well. So I decided to go with this move. Because it's not a single target attack, we might miss the chance to do a double attack, but since Molten Tigrex started off as power and using it at the start doesn't cause too much of a harm for us for our longevity of the fight, because I'm more concerned when he rages or do a triple attack, and speed attack won't be that relevant anymore. Of course, Harmony Gene, which reduce the kinship that we use for the Monstie skills, and this will help us to sustain the fight for longer term so that we can continue to use our abilities as much as possible. This is the Monstie that I think is the best matchup against Molten Tigrex to bring him down as soon as possible. So now I'll go over the equipment selection. So Molten Tigrex is afraid of water, so I would suggest bring all of your equipment water elemental base. So for this fight, I actually brought a Sword and Shield, which is from Socia Mizuzune. And then I have a Hunting Horn, the Matter Dance from Socia Mizuzune. And the last one, I actually got the Gun Lance from the Socia Mizuzune. Of all the equipments here, right, the most important one is actually the Gun Lance, followed by the Hunting Horn. So because this Hunting Horn is actually a musical skill based, which is a very useful skill for you for certain situations, which I'm going to show later during the fight. So the Gun Lance is very important because of this skill called Protect. Because with this skill, you can actually control how Molten Tigrex attack, and you can minimize the number of hard loss with this skill. So I would say this Gun Lance is the most important that you need to bring along, followed by the Hunting Horn. All this later will be shown to you during the fight, how it actually matters and how it plays a part in making this fight easy for us. So the armor itself, I will actually go with the Elder Force armor because of the self-heal and the health boost. I want as much health as possible. For the talisman, it doesn't really matter, but if you have talisman that can reduce perhaps like maybe the damage taken or tenacity, it will be good to bring along. But because we are using Protect, which actually reduce the damage by so much that the tenacity won't even proc, that's why I wouldn't even consider bring it at all. So what I actually brought along with me is actually greatly boost all elemental defense, which is only an L, and the head-to-head increase of kinship. So the kinship gauge is very important that you maintain it at a certain level at a certain situation, because you will need to use your skills specifically at certain rounds to actually help you to sustain and finish the fight with Molten Tigrex. This is the setup that we're bringing to actually fight Molten Tigrex. So now I'll explain how we actually can go through this fight easily. Always aim for back attack because true warriors attack from the back. It also gives us a bit of advantage to set up before we fight Molten Tigrex. So I usually like to pet my Monstie first to build up the kinship. Okay, first thing first, always aim for Molten Tigrex legs, because if he ever goes into a triple attack rage mode, after his attack he will straight away go down if his legs are broken. Molten Tigrex in its natural state always starts off with a power attack. So try to build up your kinship here by winning as many head-to-head as you can. Okay, at the third turn, if Molten Tigrex is not aiming for any of your party members or yourself, he is going to use a move called Firepowder. This is the move that you need to use your Hunting Horn and try to evade it. The reason why is because the Blast Blight later will do a lot of damage to you, coupled with his attack is going to kill you and finish you off. Now that Molten Tigrex is in rage mode, the go-to attack that he always does is actually to go with Savage Roar followed by a speed attack. So usually this is the best time to bring out your Gun Lance and to use Protect. Although Savage Roar is a AoE attack while Protect only defends a single target move, the thing is we want to reduce the amount of damage that come to you or anybody, because a full-blown Savage Roar plus a speed attack could easily finish any of your party member if your level of health is not high enough. Before Molten Tigrex ends his rage mode, he will always use a double Savage Roar. So at this point I will always use Protect to reduce the incoming damage to myself, because the main character always has the least HP. At the same time, I want to maintain as high HP as possible so that it will be easier for me to heal others if needed. Okay, Molten Tigrex is the most dangerous after he used this skill. This is when his triple attack mode begins. Another telltale sign is when you can see fire coming out of his mouth. That's when you know that he is at his most dangerous mode. So always use a power attack at this point to win most of your head-to-head matchup. If you ever need to heal up at any point of time during the fight, the best time to heal up is when your battle buddy uses his kinship skill, because this is when you stop Tigrex from attacking you at all for the whole turn. At the same time, you get to safely heal. At his most dangerous form, if he's not aiming for anyone, this is where he will use a triple wild spear attack. So this is the best time to use Protect, because if you don't do it, you will not minimize the damage to any of your party members, and you might risk losing 3 hearts if all 3 attacks land on either your battle buddy and his Monstie, or yourself and your Monstie. As you can see from here, in the worst case scenario, if the 3 attacks hit me and it managed to defeat me, at most I only loses 1 heart instead of putting myself at risk to lose 3 hearts. Like I mentioned previously in the fight, if you have broken his leg, after his triple wall spear attack, he will fall to the ground. This is where you can get to heal up or get some free damage in, which will be a critical hit to him. Quite usually after his rage mode, he will always use the Firepowder skill. So this is a skill like I mentioned, you must always evade at all costs. This is to reduce the amount of potential damage that can be done to you in the near future. When Molten Tigrex HP is low, he will normally just go to rage mode after every Firepowder attack. That's why speed attack is less relevant in the late game. Like every other monster in this Monster Hunter game, it's really all about understanding the monster move, and that will help you to have an easy fight. So eventually, we will actually defeat this Molten Tigrex. Okay guys, so I hope this video helps your fight with Molten Tigrex an easy one. I actually put the potential moveset by Molten Tigrex round by round in the description below. So if you find this video helpful, please help me to give a like, subscribe, and don't forget to comment as well. Thank you guys for your support, and I'll see you guys soon.